Hello everybody, Tajri the Guy 3 here. It's been a while since I've been in the Pokemon review scene. When it comes to content back then, it was harder to do because I had limited tech and lack of time. Now that I think about it, most of my content vids were the X and Y vids every week. But back then, YouTube, for lack of a better phrase, had a bit of a fit with my vids. And I only used pics. Back then, I got tons of subscribers and the community loved the series, and thus my reviews were reeling in views and it was a good time for me. I wonder how people feel about X and Y now. So let's take a quick trip to Twitter and... Jesus Christ, what's happening? Is this the protest for the current world event happening right now? No, it's a mob of people who hate the Pokemon XY series. Down with Ash, Amore is trash, Clement is whack, bring Brock back. I thought everyone loved XY, what happened? That was back then when it was new and our heads were filled with expectations. You mean expectations? Dude, now's not the time for those jokes. A guy died in the mob for that kind of shit. Oh, but what exactly do you guys not like about it? You're the X and Y expert, or should I say former expert. You analyzed and figured it out, but we're not holding our breath. You didn't even finish the Sun and Moon reviews. Speaking of which, hey, this is the X and Y stand that didn't finish reviewing Sun and Moon. He loves X and Y and thinks Sun and Moon was goofy, and what's worse, he had no solid opinion on Pokemon Journeys even though it's not finished yet. Let's get him! Uh-oh, I gotta go. Okay, so opinions have shifted since I've been out of the Pokemon anime community in terms of reviewing content. A lot of people loved XY back in the day, but now... yeah, I guess I should say something. So, X and Y is still my favorite series, and that's a hill I'm ready to die on for sure, but even if that's the case, I gotta look and see as to what elements people hated that may have caused such a shift in opinion. X and Y sure does have its problems and shortcomings, but what Pokemon series doesn't? But I've been noticing people going out of their way to tear down this particular series, and after looking deeper, I think I can figure out some reasons as to why. So let's dive back into X and Y and try to figure out what the fans don't like about the series and see if we can give context. Number 1. It's a shonen battle every series that's too serious. When wanting to review the X and Y series, I had no idea what I was getting into. I had this picture to go off of and nothing else. It wasn't until I saw the trailer for the first episode that I noticed that things were gonna approach more Pokemon battle heavy in this series. And I gotta say, I was amazed. 3D camera action shots, a versus screen, all these things are what I've been begging for in the Pokemon series for so long. Finally, good looking battles. Don't get me wrong, I liked the battles in the past, but I always felt like they looked sort of dated compared to other anime series at the time. Pokemon X and Y finally decided that they were going to take the battle element seriously, and it was a warm welcome. But as times passed, this just came off as a series that was overcompensating. Like all of the story and charm of the former Pokemon series were stripped away because battles were taking the front and center. And to that I say, I don't think so. You see, to me at least, XY was a show not tell series. Little elements that told the story here and there that made you notice the growth of not just people but Pokemon as well. Like for example, when Ash fought Wulfric, he was going off the Mastery of Ash Greninja hype. He thought he could take on the world. He shoved his coat at Serena expecting her to hold it rather than politely asking. His battle style was sloppy and focused more on offense than dodging and finding openings. If a strategy didn't work, he forced Greninja to keep doing it. They weren't even in sync, as evidenced by the water still flowing around Greninja instead of being a complete shuriken like when they fought Diantha. It was clear Ash was cocky, and so was Greninja. And it makes matters worse when Shota was the one watching Ash, only to happen one other time, and that was when Ash fought Valerie. It's all shown and given to the viewer, so when Ash battles Wulfric the second time, we see the differences, and it's clear they both grew closer. I think the problem is, unlike other series, Pokemon X and Y tells its story in a different way. It tells them in the battles themselves rather than having exposition or transitional scenes that lead to the story beats. And I'm not saying that this way of storytelling is the definitive way the Pokemon series should work, nor am I saying that it's a terrible story method. But I am acknowledging that this is the way X and Y decided to do things for someone who loves action and fights, whereas the characters come out of the battle far different than when they came in. I'm completely on board with this approach. Number 2. The filler in this series was garbage. Okay, now this is an element that even I'll have a hard time defending, only because when it comes to Pokemon fillers, I'm in a mixed bag myself. Pokemon XY, like all other series, is a marketing tactic first and an anime second. They gotta show off all the mons to convince kids to buy the toys, cards, and games. So we run into some out of place things like Clement catching Chespin because he's one of the starters and is marketable. And in an action-heavy story like X and Y, filler is going to suffer because it feels almost out of place to put the traditional, almost episodic style of the previous series eps into this one. It's not to me that I think the XY filler episodes were just bad. I think they just stuck out more because XY filled us with so many plot-related episodes. Comparing filler episodes in multiple Pokemon series to me is a chore in itself, because when you put filler episodes of all Pokemon series side by side, they all sort of mesh together in a minutia of stale plot lines or just plain boring or slow pacing. So to say the filler is garbage, I just think is opposed to what? The Decorla Islands arc, which was a whole season of filler? And yes, when the bad filler episodes show, they show. But they never made the bulk of the series to me. In fact, there was some filler I found enjoyable, like the Mirror World filler and the Haunted House episode filler. Number 3. Serena is trash and Amore shipping is horrible. So I decided to tackle both of these categories at once because they primarily revolve around one character, Serena. She's the bullet point of both. So this is Serena. Come on, she's not that bad. For the first half of the journey, she saw Ash and was reminded of how he helped her in her childhood at the Pokemon summer camp. This was used as an element to bring the characters together and open the potential for backstory, but it sort of gets pushed aside once they meet and travel together. For the most part, Serena, up until episode 40, decides that she wants to do the Pokemon showcase. For some, this is a bit much, and I can see why at face value, she seems like female simp baggage at first glance. But once again, you gotta give Serena a closer look in episodes that focus on her and ones that don't. It's small, but she does contribute quite a bit, to be fair, and she does point out her flaws to Ash in what I consider the best character interaction in the series. Here, Ash and Serena have a sit down at night and talk about their futures, and Serena envies Ash because Ash has his mindset on his goals, and Ash states that everything he does, even the summer camp activities, are getting him one step closer to his goals. And also, she's a kid. Hell, I'm 27 years old and I'm still trying to get my life together. Even Ash states there's no rush, so I didn't get bothered by the length personally. When you really dissect this line, you look back and see while not large, Serena has been doing things that would prove better for her in the Pokemon Showcase. Things like making Pokepuffs, making VR videos, and the Rhyhorn racing all played roles later on in future Showcase, so in reality, she was practicing and didn't even realize it. She also has talents like sewing clothes and navigating, so while not huge, they did contribute to the group and the journey itself. Now, as far as Amore shipping, hold on, wait a minute, I can explain. Amore shipping, the belief that Ash and Serena belong in a canonical relationship. Now, I fully understand that this is such a huge hot button topic in the anime Pokemon community. Serena's pretty much pulls the weight of this fictional relationship because she's the one that has the crush on Ash. Crushes on Ash have been happening since the OG series, and they've had many a result here and there. At face value, it looks pretty one-sided, with Serena doing all she can to be the perfect girl for Ash, and Ash being, well, Ash. People compare this to Poke shipping and state that Ash and Misty were more on even terms due to the fact that Ash and Misty argued like an old married couple. But I think the problem with this comparison is that Misty and Serena are two completely different people. While Misty, both in the game and in the anime, is known to be a spunky tomboy character, Serena's polite, she's girly, she's dainty. It's not until she finished her Kalos journey that she becomes a bit more assertive and tough. She gained some of those traits from Ash. In fact, Misty goes through the opposite development. Since taking care of Togepi and traveling with Ash, she's become more soft-hearted and mother-like. Also, you gotta consider the most of Ash and Misty's shipping fuel, while it was present back then, was also backed up by the dub, as it took a lot of liberties to pair these two kids up. But X and Y took visual liberties, and I find this ship a little less one-sided than people think. For one, Ash invited her on the journey, as opposed to the other girls who either forced themselves on the journey or asked Ash and Ash just agreed. Also, remember those one-on-one times I talked about earlier? Serena gets plenty with Ash, whether it be situational or by choice. One of my favorite interactions outside of the scene I mentioned earlier is the third to final episode, where Serena is wondering where to go next. She gets pretty upset and Ash challenges her to a battle. Now, this may not seem like much, but to me, this means a lot. Remember, this is a battle story driven series, and Ash communicates best with people through Pokemon battle. So to see her last big interaction with Ash be a Pokemon battle shows a lot about how Ash feels about her, and as far as Serena's come to this point to where the two are battling on even ground. You can almost argue that Ash battling her is the equivalent to her doing this in the final episode. Again, I'm not a shipper, so this is as far as I'm going to go on the topic, but I will state that Kalos is based on France, which revolves around romance, so I can see why they put emphasis on it here. Also, and I mean, Serena's like 10 years old. I mean, kids don't know what love is, so let's not take it too in face value. Number 4. No continuity. Where were the older people in Pokemon? Okay, so for this one, people don't like the fact that Ash has no connection to older characters or Pokemon in the whole series. And to that, I didn't have that much issue with it. In a narrative, if a character or event is relevant to the story being told or can add to the story, then I always welcome it. But not having older characters and Pokemon from older narratives didn't take that away either. It was the story of Ash using his Kalos team, so I didn't mind that other Mons were excluded. This was something that did several times in other regions, so I didn't understand why it was a big deal here. If a character is needed or is crucial to the plot of XY, they did a decent job of bringing them back. But bringing back characters from other series would be out of place simply because this isn't their story. They have no relevance here, so if that's the case, then bringing them back would have done nothing but eat up unneeded time. Now, looking at this series and the 2 series that follow it have shown me that if you bring back characters for no reason other than bringing them back, sometimes it could be good, but other times it could be risky because the characters may lose what made them special in the first place, or their very appearance relies strictly off of nostalgia for a series that no longer exists. And the big one, number 1, Ash let us down. This is the big one. You can't defend this. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I think that was kind of the point. In XY, Ash was shown to be competent. Hell, the main reason why people were so drawn to this series was because Ash had the potential to take home the gold. This one scene right here, unfortunately, is what got people who loved XY to switch over and hate it. Was I disappointed? Of course. To see my favorite series fall so quickly from grace based off one battle hurts. They even gave us the best evil team art afterwards, but that didn't heal the scar that X and Y carries to this day. But after some time has passed and I've analyzed the series, while I feel Ash wasn't supposed to lose, I also feel this was a point where they were trying to bring to the series overall. Remember, Froakie chose Ash to be his trainer because he saw how strong Ash was. Froakie didn't want to lose, and in earlier halves of the series, Froakie hated when he lost. When Ash lost to Alon, then lost to Shota, then Wulfric, he could feel his bond with Greninja slipping away, as if winning battles was the only thing keeping them together. It's not until Ash had a sit down with Greninja and explained that he started his journey because he loved Pokemon, and that opened Greninja's eyes. Winning isn't everything. Now, I know Pokemon has hammered this lesson home several times before, but not like this. Everyone in and out of the series looked up to Ash, and even afterwards he says, "Sorry I let you all down," when he loses. He fully acknowledged the skills that he had, so when he lost, rather than taking it badly like the Wulfric fight, he still held his head up and Greninja accepted the loss too. So in a way, Froakie learned to be humble, like Ash. Ash was able to take that humble attitude to Alola, and guess what? He wins the league there, so it's almost like he took the lessons he learned from Kalos and transferred them over. At least that's how I like to think about it. Enough of this! You've done nothing but defend this whack series. But we're still gonna teach you a lesson about liking a fictional animated series. Let's get 'em! Well, this is it. Huh? I'm not hurt. Of course you're not. Oh, Shiny Phantom? Is that you? Why aren't I hurt? I mean, why would you be? They're just Pokemon fans on the internet. They can't hurt you. But they said mean things about something I like. Do you still like it? I mean, yeah, but then what have they really done? Oh my god. Thank you, Phantom. No problem, man. So I guess if you want to pull anything from this video, whether you love Pokemon XY or hate it, healthy debate about something you're passionate with is nice, but make sure you're still being an adult. Discussing a show that's primarily for kids. And if someone's being toxic about something you like, whether it be a series or anything, they can only do as much damage as you let them. They may have the power to say messed up stuff, but you have the power to ignore them. And I guess with all that being said, I think I've made my point. I mean, yeah. But we can still unsubscribe. Wait, no!